with your report, I can go layer that with the stats that I have, and I can just readjust my business when it comes to buying, because the profit's in the buying.
Yeah.
I don't make money on selling the cars. I make money on the buying part.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and my name is George Mienie, and I am kindly joined by Bobby Petkoff from MitMak Motors, and we're now halfway out of lockdown. I think it's halfway out of lockdown, you can call it, and today's podcast is about the South African 2020 AutoTrader car industry report that was just released on Monday, the 3rd of August, if you're listening to this sometime in the future. If you're a time traveler, well, it's 2020. So we're going to be looking at the car industry report, seeing what the outcome was, and asking Bobby for his opinion on what he sees in the car market. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Thanks for having me again.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So how has the market been treating you since we've come out of full lockdown and you've able to trade?
Well, it's an interesting outcome, or it's been an interesting journey. The fear and the uncertainty going into lockdown, coupled with a pinch of slight depression on my part. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to our businesses? What's going to happen to the employees? What's going to happen to my team? The motor industry is a bunch of resilient, hardworking, tough individuals.
That
with
is so
thick
true.
skin like this.
That is so
true. Coming from a place of being a defensive business person during lockdown, to going back to what myself and my team do best, and that's just attack all the way. The defensive players we bench and we put just strikers in front, and it's been awesome. We've had awesome results. I'm very proud to say that we've smashed our company record for the month of July. So we've exceeded the sales that we achieved in January, and I think that's a two-part win on our side, and it's one part just lockdown brought in an acceleration in refocusing our business, going deep and finding out what are our true core values, what do we stand for. Between all this noise in the motor industry, what makes us different? Really digging deep and focusing onto that, and just keeping my team positive, keeping the eye on the prize, as they say. Trying to not only hit our targets but go beyond that. What are we? How good are we really in this marketplace? What can we do with this time given to us? Yeah. So it's been an interesting mix from very, very lows to extremely high highs that we haven't seen in the past. During the last week and a half. Yeah. It's been awesome.
I suppose with every drawback, there are pockets of opportunity, and that's what I see you do with MitMak Motors. It's you find those pockets of opportunity, and amongst all of the negativity and the market is depressed. We know it's a hard, tough place. It's not an easy environment to do business in today, but there is opportunity. You just got to find it, and you seem to have found it. What do you say I wouldn't, I don't want to call it a trick, because I don't think there are any tricks. There's only hard bloody work. That's the trick, hard work, exactly. So, what do you say coming out of that lockdown period was the thing that caused you to do the numbers that you're doing at the moment? And, I'm not going to tell everybody what your numbers are, but Bobby's numbers are doing well. He can tell you if he wants to, but Bobby is doing volumes that resemble pre-COVID times. What is causing that for you?
Well, like I said, the lockdown did more good than bad to our mindset, and that was refocusing refocusing our focus, if that makes any sense. So at the end of the day, we decided what are the two main reasons that we are in business. So that's the question I asked my team, and especially my management team. Why are we in business? And you've got hands coming up, to make money, and which is all awesome. At the end of the day, it's a capitalistic world that we live in, and money is important. You need to produce income because we all have expenses.
Yeah.
But I dialed it down to two main reasons why I'm in business, and that was the switch for us all. And the first one was to get a customer. To get a customer, that should be our main reason. And number two is to add value to that customer's life. So it's very difficult when it comes to the used car environment, because we've got this dark cloud and stigma around us that you're a car salesman, or my favorite, the car smokes, or so it's like, how am I gonna prevent you from tricking me? And with technology and with the current exciting age that we live in, we basically we all naked, and you can market as much and as hard as you want. That will just expose your true beliefs or business values.
I like
just
that.
a lot quicker.
I like that.
It will just bring it out quicker. So if you focus on the consumer and you focus on adding value, just like AutoTrader has. I mean, we're speaking here today because you've added so much value, not only in my life and given me that bright torch in the dark motor industry, but I mean in so many other dealers' lives. With your report, I can go layer that with the stats that I have, and I can just readjust my business when it comes to buying, because the profit's in the buying.
Yeah.
I don't make money on selling the cars. I make money on the buying part, and it makes it so much easier if I can focus on the just the top 10. That's all I need. Your report is so detailed and it gives you so much more. But just that one page, the top 10 vehicles sold and the top 10 brands searched. Applying that to my business has increased my sales.
Yeah. You're focusing where the game is, and I mean, getting into the data. I suppose you've got a lot of experience, Bobby, and that experience is vital. You need experience as a car dealer, but in today's transparent world, I suppose layering that experience with data is where some of the magic lies.
Absolutely. If you go back, for example, I'll use my own business. If I go back pre-lockdown, and I have a look at my ratio of double cabs, Hilux versus Ford Rangers, the Hilux sort of took a little bit of a dip, and the Ford Rangers
flown.
Sales volume was almost double, triple of the Hilux. But as evident here, the Hilux is coming back. The price range of the second-hand Hilux, so the pre-owned Hilux, has fallen down. So it's competitive to the Ranger, because let's face it, price is important. They're both good quality products.
Yes.
Normally the deciding factor happens on price, but if you take the experience of what's happened in the past and combine it with what's currently happening and the searches that are evident, you can adjust your buying. So I'm buying a lot more Hiluxes, and my sales are almost there with the Ranger. So it's like we're selling 5 or 6 Rangers more than Hiluxes, where it used to be 15.
Yes, exactly. So let's get into that report a little bit. The high level statistics are, and I mean, before I do that, let me just kind of unpack the aim of why we're doing this. AutoTrader traditionally was a classified business, and we're now fast becoming what's called a marketplace. And the difference is, I mean, imagine a shopping center. Inside a shopping center is all the goods, and you can see them through the window. It's not just a list of goods, but you get help. You get help with the process of buying and selling within that shopping center. There are credit card machines, there's payment facilities, there's all that stuff. So AutoTrader is fast becoming a marketplace where we help the dealer and we help the consumer fulfill that transaction, and everybody wins in that. So and we call that automotive digital retailing. So our aim with all of this is to accelerate the transition of automotive digital retailing by driving more transparency, opportunities for efficiency. And the highlights of this report is BMW is the most searched for brand in South Africa. I mean, that's been like that for a long time. VW Golf is the most searched for car variant. And the average price of a car is 289,000 Rand with the average mileage of 75,000 Rand. Now, you said to me before we started that, your average mileage is lower. So I'm keen to get into that with you a little bit. But used car price inflation is in excess of 1%, which is a low single-digit number. And like we were talking about now, the Ford Ranger is the most sold car within South Africa, which creates an opportunity for Hilux. And what we're experiencing now on AutoTrader is a surge in under 200,000 Rand car searches. So cars valued at under 200,000 Rand. Now, because of lockdown and all the stuff we've been through, we've seen a decrease in used car sales by about almost 12%, but that's coming back very fast, and we're seeing it in the numbers. So Bobby, your kind of like thoughts on the benefits for car dealerships and the importance of leveraging business data, not only the car industry reports data, but leveraging business data and coupling that with experience. What are your thoughts on the benefits for car dealers?
So going back to re-engineering, who is my target audience? Who am I trying to reach? Which consumer segment or who's my audience? And working, I don't know if it makes any sense, but working backwards from there. So with MitMak Motors, our prices are not always the lowest. 9 times out of 10, our price is the most expensive on a specific car. Take a BMW 3 Series, for example. Why are we still selling that amount of cars while we are the most expensive? Because we've focused our business on low mileage, highly spec'd vehicle that speaks to a certain individual. It doesn't speak to the masses. It speaks to a certain individual that wants to pay a little bit extra a month, 200-300 Rand extra on the installment, but wants a car with half the mileage of everything else out there. Wants the reputation of the dealer that says, I'm here for you and I'm here to serve you. And if you take that and you go and you look at the BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Toyota, and Audi, and you or us as a dealership focus on the 320D with the lowest mileage or the X6 with the lowest mileage, but still layering that onto the prices that actually sell well, and that is the under 300,000 Rand price mark. That's where we laser focus, and that's our little niche market that we look for, and that's where we put all our energy in and all our buying into.
Well, I mean, I suppose what I'm hearing is that you have chosen your niche. You haven't allowed your niche to choose you. And that could be an important principle. If any business, if you try and be all things to all people, you will be nothing to nobody. And that sounds like what MitMak Motors has done is you've chosen your niche. You've actually got a strategy that has a target market, and you can describe that target market. And anybody else is outside your target market. I mean, it sounds to me like doesn't mean you won't sell a 1 million Rand car, but the chances that you're going to chase that car are low.
Yeah, absolutely. We go out of our swimming pool. We wander off into areas because we constantly need to improve and experiment. Will we be successful in this segment? And we've sort of narrowed it down. This is the type of field that we play in, and this is our game. And not only stick to what you know, but stick to what you're good at.
Yes.
And chase that targeted audience.
Exactly. So let me ask you another question. When it comes to demand, supply, and pricing, traditionally, the industry and car dealers, you didn't have to change prices that often because the market wasn't as transparent as it is today. Now, with things like the industry report and even before that, internet websites exposing pricing of cars as well as the sheer volume of supply, we are now supplementing that with demand data. And the speed of the change in that demand, supply, and pricing data, how does that change how you stock your dealership? How does that change how you price your vehicles?
Well, yeah, price is very important. It's in my opinion not the most important, but it's a very close second. So just because the way I see it is just because you have that low mileage, highly spec 3 Series, you cannot outprice yourself, because then potentially you lose out to a dealership that has a 2-year newer model, similar vehicle with the same mileage, but not as highly spec. So it's just constantly doing research the whole time, and we adjust prices weekly.
Okay.
We literally every week, once a week, I sit with my team and we reduce prices. We try and stay market relevant as much as possible.
And in the last couple of years, and particularly in the last couple of months, how have consumers changed their shopping behavior? What is your dealership experience in terms of consumer shopping behavior? How are people acting differently?
The wonderful thing of finance has brought a different dynamic, and a consumer is not fazed by the 450,000 rand car. He just wants to know, what am I paying? So a lot of dealerships have gone and sold payments, which is a scary thing, because you've sold payments, but are those payments included? Is your insurance included? Is there anything like a residual value included? At what rate have you calculated? So shopping behavior is just, it's very difficult to gauge, but it's once the consumer is in, if you're transparent enough, it sort of shows. It sort of shows from their side. The full disclosure will mean a deal or no deal, but consumers are doing this on the phone rather than coming into the dealership. So
okay.
That's a big shift. I want to know what my payment is, what my interest rate is, and what it includes on the telephone, not when I'm sitting at the F&I's office when it's too late, so that they can base their decision on the information that they've got at the comfort of their own home. And do you think that's a big shift for me?
Do you think COVID-19 is the biggest driver of that shift in behavior?
I think it's accelerated it, rapidly. It always used to be sort of, give me a price and I'll think about it and I'll come back to you. But now every single consumer gets the price, that, at least with us, price, interest rate, deposit, term rate. We give upfront information to every single consumer every single time. It's just the way that.
How you've met that change in consumer behavior is by giving them more transparency. Sounds like it. You're just giving them more information.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the impact of automotive digital retailing strategies on your dealership. I mean, many car dealers think that putting up a form on the website is automotive digital retailing. They think that putting up a finance form is applying for finance online, which, while that's a good first step, all of the back-end stuff that happens to try and remove the human beings from the process is real automotive digital retailing, is the stuff that the consumer can't see, is the stuff that automates that finance process. How's your dealership changed to adopt more automotive digital retailing strategies?
So as we spoke a minute ago, we try and give all the final figures, the final approvals, the final deal making before the consumer reaches us. There's a couple of challenges at the moment we face in South Africa that's a huge stop street in the road to completing from application to approval to deal making, everything online. And that's firstly, we've got a huge fraud problem.
Yeah.
It's just overwhelming, the amount of identity theft that happens. So the banks are trying to solve for that with a less than reliable sources. I'm not going to name them, but that needs to bump up, because the need is all of a sudden there. But the front end, if I may say, is there, but the back end is not yet built. So they're catching up slowly but surely. But a form is not good enough. F&I needs to physically go and do the deal making, get the approval done, and that takes time. Unfortunately, time can't be taken from a 45-minute to a under a minute or 2-minute process yet. But there's a lot of things in the background that are taking place. And I don't think it's going to be very long before that finally happens and consumers can actually buy a car online from start to finish.
I can't wait, and I hope MitMak Motors is first to that race. So moving away from that topic a little bit, the benefits of a report like this or data like this to the wider industry. You mentioned it earlier on, and that the used car industry gets a bad rap. But I'd like to kind of put out there, remind everybody that the used car industry in South Africa, the retail industry, dwarfs the new car industry by a factor of over 2 to 1. There are more than 2 times the volumes in used car than there are in new. So in that world, there's probably more money to be made in used car right now than there is in new. New car is under some serious pressure. I mean, the negative impact to a new car being under pressure is that new car acts like a feeder to used car. So like the manufacturing plants act like the feeder to the new car retail environment, the new car sales environment acts like a feeder to the used car sales environment. So it's all interrelated, and I don't think one is mutually exclusive. You can't have a used car industry or retail industry for very long until your aging fleet starts showing its head, and you need new car sales in order to feed that monster. But in saying all of that, data like this, given the size of the used car retail market in South Africa, how do you think it's applicable to OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, parts suppliers, tire manufacturers? How do you think that this information is useful to those parts of the industry that aren't specifically a used car?
So I'll start with a money question that came up in the beginning, and new cars are obviously regulated, and we've seen big OEMs like Mercedes-Benz and BMW taking back control, where the OEM controls the pricing, the discounting, the actual sales process through a brick and mortar or dealership
franchise
environment.
Dealer,
So
yeah.
I mean that's just a 5-year in the future view into what's happening. So I'll be very scared if I'm in that environment. The used car market is not as regulated yet because transparent pricing is coming, and it's coming quickly. You cannot overprice a vehicle anymore. It's not, the marketplace won't allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, yes, even though it's more profitable, it won't be for very long, because in a couple of years' time, we will all sort of sell a 2017 Polo Vivo 1.6 Comfort Line Tiptronic for a similar price. But where the difference will come is brand. Who will we rather support? Is it dealership A, who we know nothing about and has a bad image or reputation out there, or is it dealership B, who's selling a similar car for a similar price, but it's got huge brand and they stand behind their brand, and they are out there to please their customers. So that's coming, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the second part of your question, how can the sea of businesses that surround the motor industry or rather directly the sales of the pre-owned vehicles? I mean, just looking at BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Volkswagen. A tire company, for example, knows that BMW's most, at least, use run flat tires. They can then focus their energy and their buying power on the top 5 or top 8 makes, stock those tires or leverage the different suppliers on price against that brand or that make of tire that will then feed into the used car industry, because a tire, a windscreen, a serviceable item will need to be replaced. So this data just the ripple effect, not only for us but for everybody else following us or supporting us to be able to sell cars, is also it's invaluable.
So what you're saying is, I mean, a tire company, as a matter of interest, could go for a volume strategy on the high moving vehicles, and go for a price strategy, or a higher margin strategy on the slower moving vehicles, and I suppose that's how the data could benefit a tire retailer or a tire manufacturer, because the tire industry is almost set up like the used car retail industry, and you've got dealerships that pull stock from various suppliers. So that's how in Bobby's opinion, the data can benefit those third party or suppliers to the automotive industry. And then finally, Bobby, the impact of this report and the benefit to the car buyer or the consumer. What do you think the benefit to the car buyer is?
I think, that age-old question, what retains its value? For example, that's the word around the dealership. What car should I go for that will retain its value best? Is it this car versus this car? And the easiest way to answer it is just sit down, open AutoTrader's report, and say, based on real, actual, live data for the last 6 months or 12 months report, whatever report you pull, these are the vehicles that are most searched. These are the vehicles that are most bought between this mileage and in this color, sir.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is, if I was a consumer and I was to buy a sedan car, I would buy a white diesel BMW under 300,000.
There you go.
That with under 80,000 kilometers, and that is, in my opinion, the perfect car for me to put on my pre-owned showroom to sell to the next consumer. Yes. I mean, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, because the consumer's going to going to pay retail for the car because it is a well sought after car. They're going to understand why they're paying full retail for the car, and you're going to keep the consumers happy. So that comes full circle. The more transparency we create in this data for the consumer, the more the industry and car dealers like you benefit, I suppose. So that brings us to the end of this chat. It's been awesome, Bobby. Any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you very much to you and your team, sir, for providing us with this invaluable information. And to my colleagues out there, thank you very much for jump-starting the motor industry. And you guys are a bunch of talented individuals. Keep up the good work. And let's continue pushing the South African economy forward and keep on employing more people. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. So there you have it. Bobby Petkoff from MitMak Motors and his invaluable insights. A very successful dealer in Pretoria, and has got a flagship dealership called MitMak Motors and 2 other dealerships in the vicinity in Pretoria. And if you drive into Pretoria, you will see that you are entering MitMak land or MitMak country. Almost sounds like the Wild West up there in Pretoria, right, Bobby? But really sharp dealership and gives a lot of value to his customers. So my name is George Mienie, and thank you for joining, and see you next time.